or do these people really have a God complex? Are they insane? Like what is leading them to these kinds of thoughts where they sound like they have a God complex?
Well, I think they're social engineers, okay? And so for social engineering to be successful, they need to get rid of the concept of God because they are going to play God.
Hey guys, Raf here from the End Game Investor, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Michael Rectenwald, the author of 12 books, including The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty, Unraveling the Global Agenda, Thought Criminal, Beyond Woke, Google Archipelago, the Digital Gulag and the Simulation of Freedom, and Springtime for Snowflakes, Social Justice and its Postmodern Parentage, among other works. He has appeared on major network political talk shows, including Tucker Carlson Tonight, Fox and Friends, Varney and Company, The Ingram Angle, and The Glenn Beck Show. And he is also running for president on the Libertarian Party ticket. That was recent, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah?
The recent announcement, that's right.
Yeah, well, so thank you so much for coming. And Michael, so I'm going to open this with a little bit of a challenge. I like to do that. Open some new territory here. I understand where your angles are coming from. I get a lot of what you write about in your books. That basically the world is in big trouble, and we have these totalitarians that want control of everything, and the world looks like it's going to hell in a handbasket, and to use a phrase. Can we take a little bit of a different angle here, and could you tell me what you think is positive about this entire mess? What is the good that is coming out of this? What do you see as the most encouraging thing, despite or maybe even because of all of the crazy, evil corruption that is happening?
Well, yeah, I think the main thing, the good that's coming out of it is defiance on the part of a very significant contingent of the population who are not going along with the agenda. And that's what my campaign is meant to galvanize and to bring into focus and to consolidate into a movement of people that are not going to take it anymore and are undertaking efforts to, decentralize, to get rid of the puppet strings that are attached to us, to cut the strings and create local autonomous zones. Not to use an Antifa term, but freedom zones that protect property rights and individual liberty. So, yeah, the good that's coming out of it is what the people are not taking this, and there are a great deal of people that won't have it, and I'm representing them and trying to get them galvanized and on the same page and recognizing our force, our power, and our possibilities.
Mm-hmm. So on that topic, I think from where I'm coming from, there are two ways to take this. We can either try to fight the evil, head on, maybe like, for example, use cash, protest against CBDCs, this kind of stuff. And, that has its place. I find myself on the other side of it, and that side is I'm not afraid of them taking more and more power, not because I want them to have more and more power, but I recognize, and tell me if you agree, that there's only so much power they can take before they shoot the moon, the Tower of Babel collapses, or hyperinflation happens and the entire system resets, just because their entire system is based on theft. And when a society is based on theft, it automatically collapses. I think Murray Rothbard talked about this at the end of Man, Economy, and State, that hyperinflation, it's more of like a savior. It's a self-destruct button that is the reset. We talk about the Great Reset, but a hyperinflation would be a reset where all of their power would just suddenly disappear. So I say CBDCs, I understand that they're horrible. Bring it on, because it would just make the pyramid that much taller, and then the collapse that much closer. What do you say about that? And do you have any objections to that strategy?
That's kind of what's referred to as an accelerationist position. That is, accelerate the problem so that it comes to a head sooner. I think that we can't necessarily have much to do with that, and we need to take a self-defensive posture as well. We need to create parallel currency. We have parallel currencies. We need to start creating networks that accept parallel currencies and building a parallel economy on a local basis and across localities. So I think that even though Rothbard is probably right, I don't think that waiting for the disaster is the answer. I think we have to be proactive and to thwart the effects of this disaster, because that's the thing with a collapse. If you're not prepared, you will be swept under with the refuse that is thrown out by that system, that is crushed by it as well. So we need to be prepared for the eventuality of a total collapse.
Mm-hmm. And what does that look like to you? And how are you preparing? And how do you suggest other people prepare?
I think we need to take over our local community school districts, and we need to take over our local political offices. We need to take over our police departments. We need to decentralize and nullify federal unconstitutional federal laws. We need to have parallel economic orders in place with parallel currency, and whether that be gold, Bitcoin, silver, or whatever. I know there's arguments for all of these, and I'm not saying that they would be exclusive. In fact, it depends on what your network will accept. So I think we need to do all those things and be prepared for the collapse that may be ensuing.
Do you think that a collapse is avoidable in principle, or do you, because I don't see how, given Austrian business cycle theory, that the inflation has to be paid for, at one point or another. It depends how you want to count it. You could count it from, let's say, 1933, when the dollar was first devalued from 21 to 35, or some people count it from 1971, but either way, it's going to be massive. So even if, say, a responsible person like you were put in the White House and you were given full power to enact whatever you needed to enact in a compliant Congress, is there even a theoretical way to escape the pain that is coming to us? Or is that something we just have to go through?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a way to mitigate the effects of the pain that would come to us. And that is by getting grounded in a sound currency, the economy will collapse because of the interest and so forth, but that all has to be audited, and the Fed abolished, and private banking established with private currencies in competition. All of those things will be the way we recover from whatever happens. And it may be, and it's necessary, I believe, to build these structures, these parallel structures now.
When you first broke out into national prominence, you have a very similar story. I don't know if you're familiar with Brett Weinstein. You know him?
Yes, I know.
Okay, so I've been following him for a while, and when I stumbled on you, you have a very, very similar story. Around the same time, you were pretty much bullied in NYU, was it?
Yes.
For standing up to the woke mob there, and you successfully stood up to them. Can you describe? I mean, we're all having our personal fights with our own woke mobs, wherever they might be. I had my run-in with them in 2021. When I dropped my daughter off at her kindergarten without a vaccine pass, and that was scary enough. I was accused of assault, and then there was a whole court case about it. But I came out okay because I had recorded the event in my front pocket. But for me, even though that was a triumph, that was very, very mentally taxing for me. I don't think I could handle that again. I mean, I probably could. I'm just saying, it really took a lot out of me and my family, even though I won. How do you go through these things? And for people that need to that are fighting this and they might not have the mental strength to do it, what strengths were you able to summon up to have you stand up to the woke mob in 2018 in NYU? And what advice can you give people who are doing their own fights?
Oh, that's a good question. But yeah, I mean, eventually, it was the woke mob came for me when I, made some criticisms of social justice and so on and so forth. Tried to cancel me, tried to ruin my academic career, tried to savage my life, and uh, let me just say that what people can do is, first of all, you should become inoculated as soon as you can against these viruses, these mind viruses, to quote Gad Sad. These mind viruses, you have to be inoculated against them, and that means you have to understand what they're about and what's wrong with them, what the disease is, and then how to think about it, because it's a thought disorder, and you need to be ready for the onslaught so that whenever it comes, you have an arsenal at hand to fight back. You have to attack it. You have to fight back against it with an arsenal of personal reserve. Yes, a lot of fortitude, but also tools of understanding. And I would recommend, there's work to be done in this area. You got to read, you got to ponder, you got to think, and you got to be ready with answers, because they'll come at you with things that seemingly are unanswerable, and because they're based on faulty premises, and you have to analyze those premises and be ready to shoot them down. In the case, for example, that you went through, I mean, I think it goes down to bodily autonomy and the rights of the individual to control what goes into their own bodies. And there's a whole arsenal of theory that supports that, not necessarily just theory, but there's a whole arsenal of thought that supports that view. And so those are the kind of things you have to have ready at hand. You have to have ready at hand, an analysis of Marxism, an analysis of various shades of socialism, an analysis of what wokeness is about, and so on. And I've been trying to provide that analysis in my books, where reading these books will help inoculate you.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the United States surviving as a whole political entity? If wokeness continues to a hyperinflationary collapse, which it will if it does continue, and it seems to be going in that direction. Tom Woods talks about national divorce. He talks about political dissolution. Do you think it's even achievable or even a desirable goal to keep the United States together as a single political unit, or should we just break apart?
Well, in a spirit of secession, we should attempt to create local power and local control and decentralize. What that means for the republic in the end is hard to say, but we can't reconsider the national project except from a position of local freedom. And so I don't think that the national project can even be envisioned or re-envisioned from the standpoint that we're in. We need to undertake a local, decentralized revolution, frankly, and then look at the picture after this has largely taken place. As I've written about this just recently in an essay called "The Two Nations," and in that essay, I say that only after this project of decentralization is well underway will the national project be reconsidered or re-envisioned and reconfigurable. As it stands right now, it's a mess. It's a disaster, and I don't think that any top-down solutions are going to come, first of all, and I don't think any top-down solutions will work. So it isn't a matter of who is elected president, frankly. It's a matter of whether we wrest power from the central authorities and vest it in the people.
Mm-hmm. So are you I'm trying to understand what you just said. Are you saying we embark on a program of decentralization from the bottom up, which I think is going to happen anyway once the currency
Hmm.
collapses? Because if you
Right,
think about it, really, the only thing that's holding the union together is the fact that the dollar can still buy stuff. You can
right.
still hand it in and get some amount of goods and services. I think once that's gone, I think that the United States will break up, whether it's into 50 states or communities or counties or whatever it is. I don't know, but I think what you're saying is that after that happens,
Hmm.
um, whatever is left of America in terms of its founding values and what made it a great country in the
Hmm.
beginning, could coalesce to find itself in like a born again new kind of
Hmm.
existence. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I think, yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. Whenever we re-envision it from the local standpoint of local freedom, local autonomy, and independence, and control, then we can take a look at the larger picture and see if it's worth reconstructing into a republic that we can feel represented by and that we can stand by. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Hmm. Okay. So I was looking through your interviews in preparation for this interview, and I noticed two things. You quoted Yuval Noah Harari, who I've also attacked pretty hard on my channel, and he frankly is a very scary man,
Hmm.
saying things that strike me as like him thinking that he's a god. And
Hmm.
you quoted him as saying humans are completely hackable, and religions that came out of the Middle East, which is my religion of Judaism,
Yeah.
will be replaced by religions that come out of Silicon Valley, the new like. So I frame this as the new Tower of Babel, basically.
Sure.
Um, do you think people like what is going on in the head of people like him? Or do these people really have a God complex? Are they insane? Like what is leading them to these kinds of thoughts where they sound like they have a God complex?
Well, I think they're social engineers. Okay. And so for social engineering to be successful, they need to get rid of the concept of God because they are going to play God. And likewise, they have to get rid of from public consciousness, from the consciousness of their own selves, but also the subjects they aim to preside over. They need to get rid of the idea that God exists so that they can then posit themselves as gods who are then engineering the social order uh, as if ab nihilo, as if dealing with nothing but blank slates, which that is another thing they look at us as. So I think these people are, I was funny thing is just before announcing my candidacy, or actually before I even heard of the offer to run under the Mises Caucus rubric, I was considering writing another book. And the premise of this book was about these social engineers and what they need to do. And I said in that, I wrote a short summary. And in that summary, I said, look, um, the main thesis of that was these rising global technocrats, in order to play God, had to undertake and to undertake their social engineering projects, had to eliminate God from their worldview and that of their subjects. Likewise, they appropriated evolutionary ideas from Darwin, uh, Malthusian population, including the Malthusian population principle, and eugenics, and socialist technocracy from Saint Simon and Comte and his positivism and Marxism, in order to sell their plans to the masses. So this is all part and parcel of, yes, Harari has a book called Homo Deus, which means man as God, and that's what they see as the prospect for the elite.
Mhm. I saw you with on Liberty and Finance with Dunnigan Kaiser, a show that I've
Mm-hmm.
also been on. And you were saying that we have to get our money out of these asset managers and into a parallel economy. Now, I
Yes.
understand what you're saying, but in a way, no matter where you have your money, no matter where you
Mhm.
have your dollars or your brokerage account or whatever, I mean, the system is so convoluted that we don't really know who exactly owns what. There's like an ownership
Yes.
of an ownership of an ownership of an ownership.
Yes.
And the only thing that I see as, and nothing is completely safe, but buying gold and silver and burying it somewhere, or in a
Yeah.
private vault or in a foreign country, even that, and having some with you. There's nothing you can do to compensate for all risk. But if you want to really get out of the system, assuming the entire system is coming down,
Yeah.
that's what you need to do, and that is
Yeah.
the base of the pyramid.
Yes. I would say pulling money out of the stock market in general, but I was talking in particular about the ESG tilted stocks, and to
Mhm.
get out of those, because this feeds the monopoly beast that they're constructing. It's a monopoly scheme, and it also is terrible for you're really not only jeopardizing your investment, but you're actually jeopardizing. Uh, you're paying a tremendous fee for these people to invest your money, and rather passively on top of that. They don't do anything except let this program run and invest your money. So yeah, I would say, I agree. Basically, if it's anywhere in the system, it's very hard and it's almost inextricable from the ESG and also just from their machinations in general. So yeah, I agree. I think gold and silver is the best route for preserving your wealth and getting money out of the fiat system and putting it into hard assets like that is very advisable.
So you recently announced a run for the Libertarian nomination for president for the Libertarian Party. What would you do as president that you think could help the situation? Um, could would If you were to stop the money printing machine, obviously it would
Hmm.
accelerate the collapse. And you
Hmm.
called me an accelerationist, and I accept that I am.
Yeah,
But maybe if we were to do the right thing, it would accelerate the collapse. So maybe
I
there's no
think it could.
escaping it.
Yeah, it at least will. It'll bring down the ramparts of the system onto the ears of the people that have erected it. I think, and we need to, as I said, we need to mitigate the damages that it causes us. So, as the precedent, like I said, I don't think we have a real top-down solution. But
Mhm.
what I would do is, of course, abolish the Fed, audit it, and establish, allow for free market currencies and banking, no monopoly over money. And of course, I would eradicate most of the alphabet agencies in the United States, like the CIA, the FBI, the DEA, the CDC, the whole lot of them, which are nothing but oppressive state apparatuses. I would get rid of it certainly stop any motion towards the CBDC if it's not in place by then. Um, I would, I would, of course, I would pull out of all money and funding and weapons out of Ukraine, which is exacerbating a potential nuclear conflagration. So we can't end the Fed if we're all dead. So I think that's a step that I would take right off the top, is that withdrawing support for this so-called proxy war, which is barely a proxy war at this juncture.
Mhm. Do you think that they're actually that crazy to start a nuclear war with Russia, or to bring us close enough to that where that's a real possibility? Because personally, this is something that I intentionally do not think about, because if they do start a nuclear war, I'll be dead. And if they don't, I'm still alive. So they haven't. So like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
right.
are
Well,
they
I mean,
that
I think we have to
insane?
go. I think that they are as crazy as we would imagine, and that in order to deflect from their criminality, they're willing to risk the lives of the whole planet. And I don't put it past them. And they're also not all competent. We're dealing with very incompetent people whose judgment is very skewed by virtue of their imperialist agenda. So I don't trust them at all, not to make a misstep that could lead to this. So that's why we need to get off the precipice here, just in case somebody happens to mistakenly step 1 foot over the edge and bring us all down.
Yeah, that would be nice to step away from the precipice. I think the last time that happened was in 1962 with Kennedy,
Right.
right? With was it the missile crisis, and
Bay of
he
Pigs, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Bay of Pigs and the missile crisis, and he took missiles out of Turkey, and then they took missiles out of Cuba, or they stopped crossing the border. I don't know exactly what happened. I wasn't alive at the time. But then we saw what happened with Kennedy, right? He was assassinated by somebody or some agency, or it's becoming clearer that it might have been the CIA. Who knows?
Mhm.
I'll get a strike for that. Who knows? And now we're just finding out today that the CIA was involved in a congressional letter. The CIA was involved in suppressing the lab leak theory on the that thing that we had 2 years ago. That I don't want
Yeah.
to say the name of it.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
it seems that all of the alphabet agencies are so beyond control now that the deep state is its own thing, and it's been that way since the 1960s. Wouldn't
Mhm.
it isn't it, Do you think that it's even possible to dismantle these things, even if we had, like, let's say RFK became president or something like that? Would he be able to without being assassinated? It seems like the deep state is just too powerful right now, and we just have to let it, again, back to my accelerationist leanings, we just have to let it take control of whatever it is and then just collapse with the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a shadow government, in the United States that's running the show, and that is very powerful, and that will try to stamp out real opposition, and would go to those lengths that we've alluded to in terms of JFK and RFK. I think they are capable of that. I don't put anything past the state and its minions. And likewise, I think, it would be very difficult, but I think it needs to be said that these things need to happen. And, by some miracle, some Javier Milei miracle that I was elected, I would start to dismantle them come what may. And yes, I think even that would cause collapses of sorts, because you're going to be putting a lot of people out of work. You're going to dismantle the military industrial complex, and you're going to see where the bodies are buried. And this could be quite an unsettling prospect, leading to instability, incredible instability, because the system is built upon these premises and these foundations that are very shaky. And once you take out those beams, yeah, the higher floors are going to fall. So yeah, I think it would accelerate it. It would be part of the acceleration, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very glad you mentioned Javier Milei, because I've been following him, and it's been difficult for me because I don't know Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is really, really interesting.
He's on fire.
What?
He's on fire.
Yes, he is. He is on fire, and if you took the personality of Donald Trump and the mind of Ron Paul, you'd get Javier Milei. And I don't think it's a coincidence, but I think it's significant, and it's a message from, if you believe in a conscious God, or you believe in some kind of order to the universe, or whatever you want to call it, that he comes from the land of silver. That's Argentina's name, the
Mm-hmm.
land of silver, Argentums.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So someone like him in a country like that could start a fire in the rest of the world. And let's say he kicks the IMF out of Argentina and defaults on all the debt. Because how much farther can Argentina really slide? I mean, they're all impoverished anyway already
Right.
now, so they may as well just give the middle finger to all the alphabet agencies that are sucking their blood.
Yeah.
If Milei does become elected, and he gives a consciousness to, let's say, a Murray Rothbard. I mean, he's a follower of Rothbard. He's mentioned his name, and you think he's named his dog Murray or something. That could really that could really start a libertarian fire in the whole world. I mean, that's what Ron Paul did, even though he lost the election and he never got close to any significant power. He really got this movement going, and I'm part of that. I was woken up in 2011, 2012 from Ron Paul, and that's why I'm talking to you now. So this has really been going on for decades now. The slow libertarian wake up is really turning into a snowball as things get worse. More and more people are waking up.
Yes.
So on that positive note, I just wanted to have you put in some concluding remarks. What do you want people to know about your campaign? Where can they find you? And in closing messages, messages of hope, and what do you want people to know, basically?
Yes, thank you. Well, so the campaign is really Wreck the Regime. And this is not a project that Michael Rectenwald will undertake by himself. This is a project based on local control and power. So we're trying to get local people to run for office and so forth under the Libertarian banner and wreck the regime from the bottom up. Likewise, the website is rectheregime.com, and that's REC, theregime.com. And you can follow me there. Also, you can find, if you want to know about my history and my writing and my work prior to this and continuing through it, is michaelrectenwald.com, michaelrectenwald.com. That's RECTENWALD. And I want people in the United States to jump on the Wreck the Regime train in order to help us wreck the regime from the ground up, and to get this train rolling and get it supercharged. So I'm asking for people to volunteer, to donate, but also to donate their time and consider very strongly becoming a delegate and also running for office. And we will support all candidates that ask for our help in running for office. So there you have it. The idea is decentralize, localize, grasp power from the global statists and vest it in the local communities to withstand the eventual and likely inevitable collapse that you referred to.
Everything that you just said, decentralize, wreck the regime from the ground up, that is all going to happen. We are going to decentralize. We're going to break up into local communities, and then those local communities are going to cooperate. All this stuff is going to happen. So whether I end up personally being part of it, or you end up personally leading part of it, and you are leading part of it, and I'm leading part of it, this is why we're talking now. We're sewing these communities together, and I'm talking to preppers now, and I'm also noticing this is just coming to my head now that people that have nothing to do with libertarian thought, have nothing to do with Austrian school, anything, don't know anything about economics, they sense it. They feel that this is ending. It's all over. Anyone with any, iota of intellectual honesty sees that this is the end of something. They just can't put their finger on it. Right. So everything you're saying it's going to happen, and we're just part of this thing where we're facing in the direction of history because we know where it's going. And yes. I wish you the best of luck and skill and any success that you can get, whatever it happens to be. And every day that you speak, and every day that you reassure your listeners that we can get through this, and we will get through it. It is a success, no matter what happens in the future.
Well, thank you so much for that vote of support, and not vote, but that nod of support, and I really appreciate it. Also, if you don't mind, say some prayers for me. I could use them. This is not easy. We're looking at a very difficult task, but I'm up to it, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Absolutely, I will pray for you, and I'm going to Jerusalem for the holiday of Sukkot soon, so I'll put your name up there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Rafi.
Okay, thanks.